I'll be signing a bill, the first in the nation, saying enough. To ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
And here's what the acting U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, said. The state of California has no jurisdiction of the federal government. If Newsom wants to regulate our agents, he must go through Congress. I've directed our federal agencies that the law signed today has no effect on our operations. Our agents will continue to protect their identities. When can we expect California to pass a law banning Antifa members from wearing masks while committing state and federal crimes? I'll wait.
So we haven't had time to cover this story with everything else going on, but make no mistake, I did not forget about it. Today we got to bring you some updates on Governor Gavin Newsom, the shameless sociopath himself, Mr. I condemn political violence, but I also allow political violence, and if you commit political violence in my state, I will quite literally release you from jail within the span of hours. Yes, that exact Gavin Newsom was pretty humiliated over the weekend after he made a total fool out of himself, signing a bill into law from the California State Assembly that would ban ICE agents from wearing masks or covering their face during immigration raids. And essentially what happened after that was he had to be babied like the child that he is. Figuratively speaking, his parents, the federal government, had to step in and ground him for being disobedient because after all, Gavin rapidly found out he was simply grandstanding. He has no authority here as a state governor to tell the federal government how it can enforce federal law. The bill is useless. It is a gigantic waste of time. And not only did he engage in this waste of time in general, he did so on the very same weekend of the Charlie Kirk funeral. A man, let's not forget, he personally knew, he claimed his son was a big fan of, he obviously knows about this victim of political violence, and then he proceeded, while signing this bill, to do a press conference, ignoring and pretending as if political violence is not even a real thing, while signing a bill into law that has no effect on anything. Ladies and gentlemen, again, that is the shameless sociopath we are dealing with. I want to bring you some updates on that, as well as Democrats going right back to this, hey, let's protest outside of ICE thing, because I don't know, that's the best way to now spit on the grave of Charlie Kirk is, let's go back out into the streets and cause more chaos and violence, much like their forefathers and leftists before them, right? So we got to tell you about that, as well as apparently an update on this very specific case of attempted left-wing terrorism in California. Another case in which Gavin Newsom had to be babied by the federal government. The Trump administration had to step in and do his job for him after, as we covered a couple of days ago, they just let this ABC 10 station shooter out of jail in Sacramento. Well, ever since, the FBI has now stepped in and said, hey, if you're going to allow left-wing political terrorists out of jail and onto the streets, that's not going to happen. We'll take them into federal custody for you because apparently in so many such cases, we have to do Gavin Newsom's terrible job for him. So that said, guys, we'll get into this. We'll tell you all about it in today's video. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And that said, I want you to listen here to Gavin's justification for signing this into law, claiming, hey, they shouldn't be wearing face coverings. What are they so scared of? Quite literally, he asked the question here. After everything we've seen, both in the past couple of months, in terms of anti-ICE riots, attempted assaults, by the way, again, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, and many other copycat attempts at left-wing violence since in his own state, it seems pretty obvious what you could quote-unquote be afraid of, perhaps why it's necessary for ICE to cover their face. But no, take a listen. He actually said this again on the very same weekend of Charlie Kirk's funeral. Take a listen.
It's like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Unmarked cars, people en masse, people quite literally disappearing, no due process, no rights in a democracy where we have rights. I'll be signing a bill, the first in the nation, saying enough. To ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? And I'm really proud of the state of California and our state of mind that we're pushing back against these authoritarian tendencies and actions of this administration.
I love that sign language interpreter, by the way. He looks like a character from Lord of the Rings or something. But okay, to answer Gavin's question, ICE, what could you possibly be so afraid of? He poses after basically 2 straight weeks of left-wing political violence. Yeah, I wonder what, right? Here, it's a very simple question, actually, Gavin, to answer what ICE could be afraid of. Your own voters. How about that, right? And of course, the very reason DHS explained months ago why they were doing this is not necessarily to protect ICE from physical attacks. After all, the face covering isn't going to do that, but hiding their identities so that way people would not try to show up to their house and threaten their families after that literally happened. Let's not forget, that's the entire reason ICE started putting on masks. Is because your side, your voters, your constituency, the very people you excuse for rioting and burning stuff down every time that someone they like or whatever got deported, whether that's MS-13 members or international terrorists, arms traffickers, the very best of the DNC and the constituents and all of those things. That's the reason, it's not that complicated, first of all. And again, if you had any, skepticism, do online threats translate into actual violence? Yes. Ask Charlie Kirk, ask the people that day at Utah Valley University, ask the ABC 10 station within your own state, after all. This guy really went out and said that. Okay, what are you so afraid of? Yeah, I really wonder what, Gavin. I wonder what. Now, that said, needless to say, again, the federal government announced in response to this law, they will not be following it, because they have no obligation to do it. Nobody knows why Gavin even did this, but take a listen to the response here from acting U.S. Attorney in California, Bill Esseley, who explained here that indeed, as we've been saying, the state of California has no jurisdiction over the federal government, and a fitting statement here as well. If Gavin Newsom wants to regulate federal agents, he's got to win a federal election, which he plans to try to do. But take a listen.
One of the things he's asking for is for them to be able to identify themselves. You see the markings on the vests and the IDs on the vest. I guess my question is, though, with all the political posturing, is this even enforceable?
No, and I want to be very clear about that. The state of California has no jurisdiction over the federal government. If Gavin Newsom wants to regulate federal agents, he's got to win a federal election. But the state of California does not have the power to regulate us, and I've directed our agencies to disregard this silly bill that he just signed.
Yeah, so what happens here then? Local law enforcement try to do something? I know that's not going to be something that they're going to want to do. They have a badge just like the feds do.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any attempt to enforce this criminally. I think what the governor might do is he might file a lawsuit. He might run to a judge to try to get some sort of order. But we're very confident the state of California does not and cannot have jurisdiction. If you had every state trying to regulate the federal government, you would have complete chaos. That's not how the system was set up. And so this is silly. You know what this is about? This is to inflame the public. They have this narrative that people are out there being kidnapped. It's not true. They're federal agents. They're acting under federal law. And if he doesn't like it, he should change the law.
Yeah, big surprise. Now, look, I will point out in total good faith fairness to Newsom that he did not intentionally plan to sign this when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Right? It was something that was passing through the California Assembly for about a month by then. And then, it made it to his desk. He signed it at the point in which it was finalized, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd like to point out that's still not an excuse, actually. Because first of all, even before Charlie Kirk got shot to death on national TV for everyone to see, it was already a well-documented fact that Gavin Newsom's voters, aka the left, were radically violent. They were threatening ICE agents. They were trying to dox them. There's entire apps, by the way, on social media, on the App Store, on platforms designed to do all of this stuff. Obviously, it's something that should have been taken seriously this entire time, because again, Charlie Kirk, not the first victim of left-wing violence. But furthermore, the tone deafness of this, to see that, know what just happened in America and think 2 seconds later, I should still go forward with signing this bill that's performative, but if actually put into practice, would put the families of ICE agents in serious danger, firstly. And secondly, I'm not even going to wait. I'm just going to do this exactly right now, and this is definitely going to be a good look for me. Well, needless to say, I don't think that's necessarily the case. But moments after Newsom realizes this entire effort and waste of time was not only a bad look, it was performative, it was empty, it cannot be enforced. Take a listen to him absolutely fuming after he learns, guys, what the supremacy clause of the Constitution actually is. So take a listen.
Rules in their respective states. The supremacy clause basically asserts that we cannot interfere in federal operations. Well, federal operations have been conducted for decades and decades without masks. It's never been necessary. It's a new construct conceived to terrorize our diverse communities, to instill fear and chaos. It's quite clear that that's the case. It's simply unnecessary. And then they manifest a justification that could be manifested in every category of society today. If doxing's a concern, then legislate the solution to those concerns. We have well-established guidelines in our penal code and civil code sections here in the state of California. Judges, I imagine, would not be immune from those concerns.
This guy. So first of all, he admits the supremacy clause, that he actually has no authority here. There's no legal basis on which he can tell the federal government what to do. And then he proceeds to go on this whole other tangent. But again, Gavin, I asked the question, okay, so what actually was the point of signing a law, spending your taxpayer time on something you knew could not be enforced? That's like, what? Right? Okay. Then he, though, gets into the argument that, well, federal operations and immigration raids have taken place for decades without masks. So why do you need masks now? Okay. First of all, that's not a legal argument. Just because something has not been done before does not mean it's illegal to be done. And then secondly, going back to this, I really wonder why. Right? I really wonder why doxing or security concerns over that stuff could be a threat right now, Gavin. I don't know. What just happened to someone you knew personally? What just happened in your own state at an ABC station? What was happening in Los Angeles just a couple months ago? And we saw repeated cases of, yeah, Gavin, maybe like open your eyes, okay? Stop doing substances and you know, see the world clearly. And maybe you notice, Gavin, I don't know. But anyways, there you have him being his typical self. Okay, I don't know. That said, I want to show you here what also took place over the weekend, because it wasn't just a Gavin Newsom issue. Liberals and even Democrat candidates across this country thought, hey, Charlie Kirk just died. This is the Memorial Weekend. This is the perfect time, of course, to go out and protest ICE and do this show once again where we try to storm into ICE facilities, basically incite a riot or incite obstruction of law enforcement, and then like cry really big bad victims if we get arrested or ICE pushes us back or whatever it is. But apparently, seen at this protest in Chicago, apparently now they're training for when they riot against ICE. Okay, so take a look at this. This is their training video of how they're going to fight and commit violence against federal law enforcement officers on behalf of Gavin Newsom and JB Pritzker. So check it out.
Yeah, give it to me. I know, but I can take it. Oh, I gotta get low. So much strength, but I stayed up. That's the point. I hate immigrants. I love Nazis. The fucking fascism is great. The brown people bother me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the political left and the voter base of the Democrat Party. They should just send this video everywhere, like to everyone across the country, and just ask, this is a campaign ad in itself. Do you want to be associated with these people? Okay, like this is what they want for America, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I just have no words at that. I mean, I'm not even surprised, right? These, like I said, typical leftists, like average Democrat. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or stereotype. I'm just like, that is actually the average left-wing activist in this country, okay? Don't believe me? Look at the fact that there's not just one. Like, they're all doing the same. What is this? That's gonna stop ICE? Really? Okay. Well, needless to say, it turns out that these training tactics, and I'm not even trying to make a joke here, I'm just being serious, clearly did not work so well. Because you may have seen this go viral on social media over the weekend after a Illinois congressional candidate named Kat Abugazela, however you say that name, posted the following video saying, "This is what it looks like when ICE violates our First Amendment rights," and she is essentially making a big deal out of the fact that she is a Democrat candidate and she got body slammed by ICE. So that said, let us apparently take a look at what happened here as they tried to protest ICE over the weekend. So.
ICE! Shame on you! Put him down! Don't touch me! Don't touch her! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
And then here's the second video where she got a quote unquote body slammed and manhandled by authoritarian ICE officers. So check out the second one. So, question number one, why are you guys wearing masks? Like, what do you guys have to be afraid of? By the way, again, this is not a random citizen. This is someone running for Congress. Apparently, it's okay for her to cover her face, but ICE has to show it. I don't know what's up with that. But anyways, that's besides the point here. So, you can click, and they made a big thing out of this. You might have seen it, right? Democrats all over social media. Look at what she is saying, right? What ICE just did to me was a violent abuse of power. And it's nothing compared to what they've been doing to immigrant communities, really. I've been fighting the right as a journalist, and now I'm running for Congress, and join me in the fight. Please donate to my campaign, because they're violently abusing their power. Okay. Well, look, to be clear, what we played for you was not even a third-party video. We showed you the videos that she posted herself on her account to say, this is a violent abuse of power. And what do you notice? First of all, ICE asked you to move. You were clearly like blocking the road, obstructing or something like that. So they try to pick you up and move you. And then after just disobeying law enforcement, you proceeded to go back and sit down once again. And so essentially what happened here is that because you would not move, ICE had to pick you up like a child and essentially do that job for you. Now, frankly, she is lucky that that's all that happened to her. She could be arrested for obstruction. She could face charges. They basically just said, hey, move. Oh, I'm not going to move? Okay, then we're going to move you, right? Like the easiest linear action-reaction situation maybe ever. You know, it's pretty basic common sense. Hey, you're blocking the road. You're sitting on the road, by the way. Please move. Oh, you're not going to move. We're going to move you. This is violence. This is a violation, guys, of the First Amendment, which I always find so hysterical, frankly, as to what liberals define to be free speech, right? Apparently disagreeing with abortion or immigration policy or praying in public or something like that. That's not free speech, but, you know, violently rioting, blocking roads, throwing rocks at police officers. Obviously, if you crack down on these things, apparently those are, violations of the First Amendment. Everyone knows, right, what it says. Congress shall make no law abridging the right of Antifa and George Floyd activists to throw Molotov cocktails at police stations and vandalize vehicles and loot Nike stores, right? Exactly as the founding fathers intended the First Amendment to be there. But I also would like to point out, this video further basically summarizes what left-wing quote-unquote protest culture actually is, which is basically to say that all of this garbage is completely staged, right? As I pointed out here, they asked her to move, she didn't, so they picked her up and moved her. And then now after like that common sense decision happened, what do? Post the video. Look, law enforcement did this to us, right? It's been done, by the way, for a very long time. They're spraying tear gas at peaceful protesters. Let's not show what happened before in the so-called peaceful protesting or why they're spraying tear gas, right? Just clip it, hope it goes viral on social media, make ourselves look like martyrs, make ourselves look like victims. As I said here, indeed, it's all staged. Professional protesting is an act and also a business. Except, frankly, I might make the argument right now. I think that people in America are just tired of this nonsense. Okay, they're just sick of these people constantly grandstanding and screaming. That's just my personal theory, but hey, believe what you want. If you want to use this as proof of ICE's authoritarian crackdown, I don't know what to tell you. You know, apparently, like, your parents never taught you basic lessons as a child about life and following rules in society. Although that's pretty much every left-winger in America, so I guess that makes perfect sense. But anyways, there you have it. So again, not just Gavin Newsom making a fool out of himself, but other Democrat candidates doing the same. And last story we got to bring you relates back here to Gavin Newsom on this very question of left-wing violence, because, you know, that last video they tried to paint as political violence, right? Remember they were saying that over the weekend? The right wing is just in support of political violence because they were okay with ICE picking up this person and moving her after she refused to move. That's obviously political violence. Again, what they define these words to mean, whether it's violence versus free speech, is just so ridiculous. But that said, let's talk about the actual perpetrator of political violence, the very guy, Anibal Hernandez Santana, that shot up the ABC affiliate station in Sacramento after the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel. Apparently left a note in his car warning that Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi were quote-unquote next. So it's confirmed basically by this point, indeed, this individual was a left-wing political terrorist. But as we covered, over the weekend, within the span of hours of his arrest, after he literally just committed an attempted political terrorist attack, that's exactly what it is, was let out of jail by Gavin Newsom's state of California on just a $200,000 bail policy there, right? No idea how he paid the $200K, by the way. I'd like to frankly find out if it was financed by some shady George Soros type of character. But all of that in mind, the most glaring question there is, hey, this guy just committed an act of political terrorism at a time where that's a big concern in America. And within hours, before they even had an established or known motive, they just let this guy out of jail. 24 hours before the Charlie Kirk funeral. I mean, who knows what this guy was going to do or still could do, if not for the fact that, once again, the federal government had to override Gavin Newsom and enact common sense like, hey, we shouldn't let terrorists just walk around on these streets. Because ever since, Kash Patel has now announced that the FBI has taken into custody the suspect linked to the shooting at ABC 10's Sacramento station lobby under a federal hold for interference with licensed broadcast. So they found a way to do it. Targeted acts of violence are unacceptable and will be pursued to the fullest extent of the law. And now they are basically changing that status to say he is ineligible for bail. After, of course, the big-brained, very smart state of California let him free. And that once again goes to this narrative about how, I reiterate, Democrats can make whatever performative statement they want about political violence. If you're going to let people out of jail who commit political violence on your behalf like that and go extremely easy on them, then you're not serious about stopping political violence, right? If you're going to ignore Antifa, if you're going to equate things like what ICE did in that video to political violence, then you're not actually a serious person, right? You're grandstanding, and that's exactly, of course, what Gavin Newsom is doing. But I am glad to see it appears it has not been all that great of a weekend or a week for him, because he just keeps getting pushed around, figuratively speaking, on these issues. So that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.